Hello and welcome to the Virtual Frontier, the podcast about virtual teams created by a virtual team. I'm Chris and I'm part of the team here at FlashHub. On today's episode, we have Natalija Banic. Natalia leads HR right here at FlashHub. Natalija and Manuel were having a weekly meeting, just having a normal conversation, and then they realized that they were already having a great conversation about flexibility and what kind of flexibility freelancers can provide your business. So they decided to hit record and share it with all of you. So without further ado, here is episode 18 of The Virtual Frontier, featuring our guest, Natalija Banic.
Hi, Natalia. I'm happy to have you on the show of the podcast Virtual Frontier. It was a very spontaneous session that we have right now because we had our weekly meeting and we were talking about the difference between freelancers and full-time employees and a mindset of flexibility. And you stated that if you want to have flexibility, you need to become flexible. And this brought me to the point that I said, okay, we have to be flexible now and record a podcast because this is so exciting. I want to share it with our audience.
Yeah, and we are.
Just introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi. So, I'm Natalia. I work as, I lead HR Bright Solutions and FlashHub, and I work as a full-time freelancer. So, I've been working as a full-time freelancer for the past 5 years, almost 5 years. And before then, I had a chance to also experience, full-time traditional type of employment for, more than 10 years. So all of that time I was in HR, spent my time through different roles in HR, so tried out almost everything there. And so here we are now speaking about flexibility and things that make differences. So differences between traditional employment, full-time employment, and on the other hand, what you get with freelancers and what are the differences, what you need to change in your mindset in order to become able to work with freelancers.
Mm-hmm. You helped me to transform my whole organization from a local team of 40 people to a virtual team of more than 150 freelancers. You know all the ups and downs that we went through. And you experience the difference of our local team versus the freelancer team. And it's getting more and more one team. But in the very beginning, it was always we and they. What do you think is the main difference between full-time employees and freelancers?
Yeah, exactly. So we mentioned flexibility. So I think that mindset mindset is what makes a difference, because full-time freelancers act as entrepreneurs. So they have full control over their working lives. So they choose with whom to work, when to work, how much to work, what content to deal with. So they pretty much form or create their workday. And when it comes to full-time employees, traditional type of employment, so people that sit in the office, I think that that mindset goes more to, okay, so this is my employer, let's wait for him to tell me what to do, right? To give me tasks, to organize my day, to supply me with tools, to supply me with whatever, processes and everything. And on the other hand, we take part in that. So very often when we are hired by the client, they need us to give them suggestion about the tool, to give them suggestion about improvement, about the process, and such kind of things. So differences in mindsets, I think, make the big difference. Mm-hmm. Flexibility as well. So we mentioned flexibility, that's a big one.
Yeah. So why people hire or organizations hire people full-time is because they want basically to rely on one person full-time, which means they have a high demand for stability. The organizations, they have a high demand for whenever I need somebody, a person must be there. from my experience, they have the feeling that there is a person, but it might also happen that this person has no time because she's involved in other projects. What do you think when a freelancer is that flexible? He or she might quit the job the next day, even. Then, if I've grown up as an entrepreneur, as a manager in such conventional, traditional organization where I only have full-time freelancers, full-time employees, I might be very disappointed because this person leaves. On the other side, this person agreed to do my job. I put all my expectations on this person, and then finally he just leaves. How can this happen? And how can I overcome these negative emotions, and how to overcome this situation if this person, this freelancer, leaves?
Yeah, so I think that what we need to work on at the beginning with people that with organizations that want to work with full-time and with freelancers, basically, we need to work with them on their mindset change, because their expectations, they have the same expectations when they hire traditional way, so full-time people that sit on site. So they just transfer the same expectations to freelancers. So with the same, fixed terms, rigidity in everything, they approach freelancers. So, they want to overcome bottlenecks and issues they're having with, by working with traditional type of kind of, employees.
Mm-hmm.
But then they approach freelancers that are more flexible with the same rigidity. So it doesn't go that way. So how it should be is that they need to become more flexible in order to ask for more flexibility. If they want to stay rigid, then they stay working with their full-time employees that are, sitting next to them, and then that's it. So as I said previously, so in full-time employment, so do you have an employee that comes to the office at a certain point in the day, right? So 9 a.m., 8 a.m., they go at 6 a.m., at 6 p.m., they have a lunch break that is defined. So everything is defined. You know everything, so that's fine. There are limitations, and that's pretty much rigid. They approach freelancers with the same thing. But you have to know that when you work with a freelancer, you ask for flexibility. You need to use it, because many of them don't use that flexibility, but they act the same way. So they spend a lot of time with freelancers that they see are not really good at the beginning, maybe. But the thing is, they have to make this switch in their mindset. So they just have to become more flexible in order to kind of play with that new flexibility they're getting with freelancers. So that's the core, I think. Because skill set, you have it. So you have that freelancer. If the freelancer decides to become full-time employee one day, you can bring them to their office, right? So it's the same skill set, but we talk about type of work organization or a type of mindset. So you have rigidity and fixed terms, fixed kind of mindset, and then on the other side you have huge flexibility. And the thing is, freelancers won't feel bad if you say, hey, we spent 2 weeks together, but I don't think we are a good fit for each other. They will say, oh, okay, thank you for a good opportunity. Hope we will work in the future again. And that's it. So no hard feelings. But I think how they approach it, oh, okay, I have to give them tons of feedback and tons of new opportunities and chances, and then to spend months and months with them until I say, oh, okay, this was exhausting. I have to replace them. So that's the thing. You don't have to wait for months, because, yeah, they're not full-time employees that sit in your office, but freelancers that have probably more clients than just you.
So the thing is more about transparency, openness, and this at a much higher speed than in the local office. The mechanisms are pretty much the same. Even if you have a full-time employee and you are not happy with this person, or this person is not happy with the working environment, they will leave. But most likely they will only leave after 6 months or a year or even later. But during that period, very often you lose a lot of money and you lose lots of time, because you just don't make the decision. You put the decision till in the future, like in a year or so, or after the trial period of 6 months, and then you decide, okay, this won't work. You lost 6 months. And with a freelancer, you work with this person 2 weeks or even a week, and you see if it is a good fit or not. If you just cancel a contract, or this person, the freelancer, cancels the contract, and then you are highly disappointed because of your personal emotions, you might be in a shock and say, okay, freelancers, this does not work. Those people are not reliable. And we were talking in the beginning about if you want to have flexibility, you have to become flexible yourself. And when we compare traditional organizations that rely on stability, on fixed rules of full-time employees, where they can have access to whenever they feel they need to access them, to a virtual organization of freelancers, which is basically highly flexible, very dynamic. How does a virtual team working with freelancers give you the security that you can achieve your goals, even if every freelancer can cancel every day?
Yeah. So I think so. If the organization develops, systems, and then brings freelancers into those systems, then you have your systems, right? So you have your processes, tools, documentation. So everything is there. So you just need to. So what is a freelancer? Freelancer is a skill set, right? So it's a skill set that you use in order to do something. So create PowerPoint presentation, do some consultancy work, create whatever. So it's a skill set. If you have good systems in place, tools in place, documentation in place, then you can just bring another toolbox into your system. The system is there and it works. If you need to replace the toolbox, the skill set, you just do it. So I think that makes you kind of successful and maybe not risk-free of having freelancers leave, but let's say you have stability, and then you can easily bring another skill set to your organization, to your system. That's, I think, very important. I just want to add one thing. So with traditional type of employment and full-time, part-time employees that are on traditional contract, let's say, so you have one skill set. You employed someone, and like that's it. You don't have endless budget. So you might have endless needs. You might have different needs, right? With freelancers, you can also have more focused needs fulfillment, because you can hire an expert for one particular skill, and that is a top expert. And then for another skill, you hire another one that is top expert for that one skill. So you can actually have better quality of work done in a shorter period of time that wouldn't be able with your full-time employees, because they have this kind of rigid skill set and they can't become top experts in all those things, but you hire them because that was kind of a good solution at that time. So
So what you say is that when you work with freelancers and you see them as skills or tools or whatever, you have access to a large toolbox for specialized tools or skills that you can use to tackle any kind of challenges that you might face today or tomorrow. So it is not the security, safety that you have those people in the office that you employed and they are with you, most likely from a social perspective. Most likely it's a feeling that you have people here and this is social and it feels you can rely on everything. But instead, working with freelancers, you put full responsibility and ownership to yourself, and then you have a large tool set that gives you safety and security to always have the right skills at your hands within like a day or a week, not 6 months until you find a new full-time employee. And with this flexible tool set, you can solve any kind of problems. So this is basically how we compare local static organizations to flexible organizations. How would you say, or let me phrase one thing back, is if you want to use tools or skills, you need to know what you want to achieve. And what I experienced when I was working with a local team, we had endless meetings. And I realized that we only had these meetings because nobody knew what to do. We didn't have clarity about what exactly do we want to do? What exactly do we want to accomplish? If you don't know that, then you need lots of communication, meetings after meetings. And that's why so many organizations think that without this continuous communication, so many meetings, things simply don't work. That is true if you don't know what you want to do exactly. How would you say that agile organizations, many organizations, they want to become more flexible. They put it in the terms of becoming agile. Becoming agile means you can catch opportunities whenever they are there. And the organization should be able to adapt to change in the market, to change everywhere that is happening at an ever increasing speed. How would you say that freelancers can help organizations to become more flexible and become agile and tackle all these challenges that we are facing in the future and even today?
Yeah, well, what we mentioned previously. So I think that the first step, so kind of a precondition to work with freelancers successfully, is that organizations or organization leaders change their mindsets. So they have to become more flexible. So their minds have to become more agile, because working with a freelancer is an opportunity, right? That you should catch because it's there. So
that's great.
Yeah, exactly. If their minds become agile, then they will see that this is a good opportunity. Because if we talk about, and that's the precondition, so that's a precondition. If that's there, then they will reach out for a freelancer. And then most probably what happens is, so what we do when we are assessing candidates, right? So the first thing, or one thing among first things that we ask is, okay, how you uh, how you make sure that you understand the requirements, right? So what you do, and the most often answer is, okay, I have my own whatever questionnaire or template, or so they know, because they charge you per hour, right? And they want to deliver and move on. So they're very organized, they have their own tools, and there are no endless meetings, because you don't want to pay for that, and they don't want to spend time on that, right? So they want to spend time on doing the work. And so that's it. But I think that precondition is that organization leaders understand two things. One thing is, my mindset has to become agile and flexible, so that I actually see the opportunity, and the opportunity is I can work with freelancers, right? So that's one thing. And another thing is reliability. So they think, and I was in that, so I lived that life, right? So I spent more than 10 years in corporate type of environment. So you have people sitting there, and you have this feeling of, okay, I can rely on them. But what happens many times is that you have only really small percent of top performers, right, in any organization. And here with freelancers, you can have, only top performers, because you can switch to those that show up that they're actually top performers in the end, right? You don't have to stick to those that are not top, like class players. So the thing is, you have 50 people in your organization, but how many of them are top performers? Only few of them. And I can bet on that, because I was there. So you have maybe, I don't know, 5% of top performers, then you have high performers, and then the rest of the crew, right? So that's it. So who are those really reliable people? I mean, just because of having them sitting there, you can approach them and tell the task. It doesn't mean that they will do it, or that they will do it immediately, or that it will go smoothly, the results will be there. No, it doesn't happen that way, right? So many often they're not actually reliable. If you think about the result and what you get in the end, they just sit there, right? Some of them are really reliable, but then, the same is for freelancers, right? You can work with those that are really reliable. You can switch to those fast, but you have to become flexible. So you have to build your agile mindset in order to do that. So
yeah, that's a good description of also what I experienced when an organization has a local team. So basically, the security and the feeling of reliability comes from that things repeat every day, which means the same people are there every day, and I can touch them, I see them. Hopefully, I can't smell them, but they are there, and it feels as a manager, those are my people. I pay them, I own them, they are here. But what if there is a new opportunity for whatever that requires a different kind of skill set in a different technology that none of these people have? Then you either can't catch this opportunity, or you ask somebody who tried to catch it, even if they lack the skills. But okay, they try to do, because you are the boss, you tell them the result will be poor. You did something, you maybe hunted this opportunity, but you were not able to catch it because you are missing the right tool set to catch any kind of opportunity, because you have always a limited skill set, which is always limited in skills and capacity. I'm talking about a local team. But anyway, it feels like you can put much responsibility on people. Yes, they are always there, but it does not mean they really do the job. Now you said that with a virtual team, you can always work with top performers. And I agree on that. I absolutely agree on that. But I have to say that I do not only work with top performers, and sometimes you have to try 5 different people until you have this top performer. And if you are with your old economy mindset and you say, okay, here's one freelancer, okay, I give it a try, and then this person does not perform, and then you say, okay, I said this won't work because freelancers are not reliable, they are not top performers, whatever, they are from a different culture, and so on and so forth. So you try to find a way to confirm that your local organization is better. So this is one trap many people fall into. What you could do instead is use the flexibility of the system, right? Just hire another one and try it. If this fails, hire another one and try it. This is the agile approach. Try to do something, measure it, improve. This is the first change period. Then again, try to do something, change, improve. And this is the same with freelancers. And maybe after trying 5 times, you have a real gold nugget that is a real skilled freelancer, and this is a top performer, and you don't have to hire this person full-time, just for 10 hours a week, and both are happy with this situation. And do you have so this is what I experience, and this is what I really appreciate in this system, but that's a huge gap compared to how local organizations work. How would you describe a process where an organization, a local one, can do this virtual transformation step by step to become more flexible?
Yeah. So I will answer to that. I just want to add one thing. So I think that organization leaders that want to try to work with freelancers, they approach their local people differently than freelancers. So they measure success differently. So I think that with full-time employees that sit in their offices, they start with, okay, I have these people, that means that the work will be done, right? But if you look at that from the perspective of the results and the outcome, then maybe it's not equal to number of employees, money spent on them, time spent on everything, meetings, all the resources spent, right? So if you compare that, I'm not sure that equation will be more successful than the one that you have with freelancers, right? So with freelancers, when they want to prove that things won't work with freelancers, they typically approach working with freelancers from the perspective of the result, the outcome. Oh, okay, the outcome was not great. Yeah, well, this doesn't work, right?
Yes.
But they don't approach the same way their organizations, right? If they do that, what's the outcome? So I put this amount of money in my organization, in resources. This is the outcome. Okay, so, is it the same, right? So it's not, definitely. So that there is a different approach, different measurement of success they apply to their internal employees and organizations, and then working with freelancers. But process step by step, I'd say that the first thing is, and I mean, this is what we introduced, right? This assessment or readiness assessment, right? So are you ready? Do you really have this agile mindset? Do you have everything in place that it will enable you to work successfully? Yes or no, right? If no, then let's work on those things that are missing, right? So let's, I don't know, coach you and help you to become more flexible, to have more flexible mindset, to scan to see what tools you're missing. Well, do you have processes, and are there workflows, and so on. So let's do the preparation, and then let's set expectations, right? So, okay, let's define expectations, let's define needs. And that's how we typically do that, right? So, okay, let's talk about needs, and then let's profile those, toolboxes or skill sets that you need. So who do you need? What's the profile? What's the skill set? And then let's always go with some test tasks, because then you can really test a couple of people for fairly small amount of money and see who fits the best, and then continue with that person. But then let's catch up frequently to see if you're still maintaining that flexible mindset, because what happens is they fall into trap of going back to their kind of traditional type of thinking. They apply the same things to their traditional employees and freelancers, and that must not happen, right? So you have to maintain that flexible mindset, to maintain that awareness that, oh, that's a freelancer, so I don't owe them, they have more clients, so I have to respect them, they have to respect me, I have to meet their commitments and SLAs, as well as they have to meet what we agreed on, and so on. So there is a kind of a partnership that lives in a different way than it does in your traditional organization. So that's the core. And then, okay, so we're doing this stress project, someone was the best one, you hired them, and then you gave them the first project, but it happens that it didn't work out well. Oh, okay, let's find another batch of people, because maybe you call it golden nugget, right? So maybe that golden nugget is another basket, it was not available at the time when we sourced the first time, right? But that again requires your flexibility, right? So yeah, what I mentioned before, like this NLP premise, right? So if you're the most flexible part in your organization, then you will have the most control over it. And this is the thing. So you have to maintain this flexibility inside yourself in order to work successfully with these, let's say, virtual teams, right? Because golden nuggets are out there, but it just, you have to be agile and flexible in order to reach them. And then when you find them, you keep them. And also you keep them differently than you keep your traditional employees, right? So that's also really important. Yeah, so yeah, that would be.
Yeah, what you said is very important, that when working with a freelancer, as both are free and independent and self-determined, it's more like working in a partnership. It's more like we both have to see a benefit in our cooperation. And of course, this applies also to a local organization more and more. But how local organizations still work today is how they worked 100 years ago. Like there is one manager that has a team, and this team needs employees, and the manager decides what these people will do in the team, which salary they earn, etc. And as we have this rigid environments and these strict rules and this static setup of an organization, it's simply not possible to adapt. I mean, organizations, they try to be agile, but they always try to be agile in their specific niche, in their specific domain. But what if there is an opportunity in a completely in a different market, but it's a large opportunity, and your current business maybe goes down, the market decreases, whatever. You could catch this opportunity if you have the tools and the workflows and the right skills that helps you to catch this opportunity. Why should you not do this? And this is where organizations are looking more and more for opportunities, how they can become more flexible and agile to catch these opportunities. But I realized with my own local team that you are always just too limited. When it comes to expectation setting, in the very beginning, I also had the expectation, because I just knew it from my local team, that when I hire a person, I get their 100% commitment, they will do the work. But if somebody asked me, and you challenged me in the beginning, I remember this, so what do you exactly want this person either to do or to accomplish? What is the exact goal? And once you are really conscious about what you want to achieve, then you can control and you can measure. You can check from the very beginning, from the first weekly meeting, okay, are we closer to this goal? But you can only do this if you know the goal. And many things in organizations work on expectations that are personal expectations without clarifying them and getting a commitment from both sides. You know this scenario, somebody did something, and then you go to this person and you blame, sorry, but I expected that you do this in this and this and that way, because, and then there's a reason, you are an expert in this and that, so I have expected that you do this and that. Instead of seeing this as a learning from, okay, what do I need to communicate more clearly in the beginning so that my initial expectations are really delivered, they try to blame somebody and ask, okay, and say, okay, I would have expected this and this and that, next time please do this. Okay, then next time this person does it, but again, you have some expectations and they might not be catched. So what I want to say is that clarity is absolutely important to be able to use virtual teams for more flexibility. Would you agree on that, or how do you see the basis for being successful with virtual teams?
Yeah, so I agree with that, and we are talking about OKRs these days, right? So
yes,
with freelancers, so OKRs, okay, so results, which is basically an outcome, right? Outcome, what you end up with, right? So this is what I've made. And objective, right? So what you want to achieve, where do you want to go, right? So when you hire a freelancer, because they don't belong to organization, their mindsets, if they're good, of course, there are many freelancers that are of low quality, right? It's a huge pool, right? The whole world is your playground, right? Basically. So the thing with freelancer is, because they don't belong to organization, their mindset is typically, okay, what do you want to achieve? Why you hired me? What do you want to achieve? And how will you know that I did a good job? What is the outcome I need to give you? And that's very specific. So this is what I want you to give me, and this is what I want to achieve with you giving me that, right? So these are objectives and key results. So I would say that good freelancers have this mindset, like OKR mindset, because they don't know you. They have to understand that quickly, right? Because you need them to jump in the role right away. And they have some onboarding, but when you onboard full-time employees, you typically give them like 6 months, right?
yes.
Like, probation period of 6 months or something. So it's very rarely less than that. So you give them 6 months to play around and to onboard, to get used to the organization, to adapt to everything. But with freelancers, you work with people that got used to adapting quickly to many different organizations. So their mindset is, okay, what do you want to achieve with hiring me? And how will you know that I gave you what you needed? So what do you want me to give you? So these are very important things. And I think that with full-time employees, with traditional type of employees, what you have is an output mindset. Oh, okay, I spent whole day working on this, right? Okay, what's the
Yes.
outcome? Well, I miss this and that and whatever, right? So that's a mindset focused on the output. Okay, so I worked whole day very hard, right? But where is the outcome? Well, tomorrow I will produce it, because tomorrow I will come here at 9 a.m. and yeah, well, start my day again. And yeah, so plenty of time, right? 8 hours I'm here around, so that's fine. But so that's I think, what's the difference? So okay, organizations are introducing OKRs, right? So they try to kind of bring this spirit or mindset to the organizations, but then you have to have this learning curve, and then you have to spend time on that, and still you don't have top experts for every particular skill. You try to kind of squeeze people or many roles into one person. I don't know which
Yeah.
way, which direction is correct, but yeah, you say, okay, I have this need, but I don't have that particular skill set. So okay, Anne might be good for that, so let's try her out. And then you give person something, and what happens very often is that people don't feel good because they don't do the things that they're skilled for. One thing. Another thing, they don't do things that are aligned with their natural tendencies,
Mhm.
right? So I hate selling, but somehow I end up, calling people to check for something,
So
right? How
true.
this happened, right? Oh, well, the organization had this need, so you were the most suitable or the less not suitable or whatever. So
Yes.
yeah, that happens oftenly. And with freelancers, you don't have that, because these guys, they do what they like, what they really like. So they enjoy their work, their jobs, because yeah, I mean, they spend some time doing something and they realize what they really enjoy doing.
Mhm.
They know that they will produce the best results by doing what they like to do. And yeah, so they work on an hourly basis, on project basis. So yeah, they have this OKR mindset, I would say, the best ones, those
Mhm.
good ones. Yeah.
Yeah, I have exactly to what you were telling. I have one experience when I hired a performance marketing expert to create a competitor analysis for a customer, and it was really created. It by far exceeded my expectations because there was a huge Excel sheet where all the facts of like social media, brand awareness, then ad spend per month, return on ad spend, whatever, all these things, SEO traffic, etc., were listed there compared to 10 other competitors. And I thought, wow, that is really great. It's exactly what I needed. But even I was not able in the very beginning to tell exactly what I needed. I just tried to find an expert who did this in the past. Then I asked to show me some results of past jobs. I liked what I see, and then this person started. And what happened then is that I sent these facts, these plain facts, to a customer, and they said, "Okay, that's nice, that's valuable, but I would have expected a presentation with some charts and graphics and so." And I said, okay, I can understand this, but first let's focus on these facts and then analyze it and see which conclusions we can make based on these facts. And this is what I will put into a presentation. We did this, and then there was my fault. I went to this freelancer, which was an expert in performance marketing, search engine optimizations, and asked this person to create a presentation. And you guess it, it failed.
Yeah.
Because it's not a presentation creator, okay?
Yeah, exactly.
And then I have two choices: either to realize that it was my fault because I used a screwdriver to paint a picture, this won't work, it's the wrong tool, or I say, okay, so this freelancer didn't deliver my expectation. And then I closed the door for myself to ever be satisfied with a person after stop working with them. Because if I always put additional things on top of this person, have expectations to do different things that this person simply can't do, then I will always end up with, okay, this person is not good, it won't work. On the other side, I also hired a presentation designer. I was not even clear about this content, and this presentation designer asked me, okay, do you have a content? And I was like, what? You are the presentation designer. You have to design the presentation. Why should I give the content to you? And then I realized, okay, it's a different thing. The content is the one part. I hire a content creator, and then I hire a creative presentation designer that takes the content, understands it, and makes a nice looking presentation that somebody can understand. And this is the way that it really works. Having the right people for the right roles and really understand clearly which kind of tools you use.
Yeah, exactly. And you simply can't have that in your traditional type of organization, because you can't pay that many salaries, full packages, to have, and you don't need them full time. That's the case, right? So you don't need them full time. So you need to choose between, oh, okay, so I have 5 full-time employees and they're really good at something, but I need more. Right, so I get crappy things for the rest of the things that they're not fully skilled for, but I'm okay because they sit there, I can see them, I have this good feeling about that because they look nice. Or you go to freelancers and you kind of really have a sharp kind of laser focus, right? So you need a presentation designer, pick the top one. You need a content creator, pick the top one. Pick the one that has experience in your niche, and everything has to be there. And then you have this whatever performance marketing or what you mentioned. So this guy will make the analysis and put you the raw data in Excel there. So everything, so everyone has what they need in order to do their job. So content writer has the raw data, presentation designer has the content that is shaped and polished and approved, and so on. So yeah, that's the way how it should be done. And of course, yes, so you might spend 2 hours in order to test 4 presentation designers in order to say, okay, this one is the best one, but then you can stick to that one, right? And this one will respond to you if you, and for this you have to have this flexible mindset, of course, so that that next time when you reach out to them, they say, oh, okay, I can start today, but on Monday I can start because I'm finishing something that I'm working on right now. And you have to be flexible enough to say, okay, yes, this is totally okay, because this guy was flexible enough to not get in touch with me for more work because that was the deal. I gave him one project and that's it. So yeah, that's the way it should be done, definitely.
I mean, it's this all what we are talking about contributes perfectly to the sharing economy, right? In the next 5 or 10 years, or even today, the amount of people increases dramatically that won't buy a car, but rather use a Uber or a taxi. And even with your house, people won't buy a house. They would rent a flat for a year, or even they will travel the world and spend nights in different homes, like you can do this on Airbnb. So it's more like not owning one static thing that does not provide you the flexibility that you need to do whatever you might want to do in the future, but more consume and use services.
Yeah, exactly.
Most likely digital. So what is your thought about this comparison?
Yeah, that's a good comparison. So and actually, if you just want to try to raise or to increase your flexibility, people should actually try this. So I'm using Airbnb. So whenever I travel, I use Airbnb. I never sleep in hotels and so on, so I always use Airbnb. I've had excellent experience so far, but couple of times I used couch surfing. I don't know if you know what's that.
I know.
So it's even more radical thing, right? So
Yeah.
I was not prepared for that. I just wanted to put myself into that uncomfortable situation. I thought it would be uncomfortable, okay? So it was like 10, 12 years ago. But it was the total opposite of my expectations. It was really excellent, pleasant experience for me. So, you sleep with a family in their home, so they welcome you, and you basically pay nothing, right? So it's a great thing. So to meet such an open-minded people was an extraordinary thing for me. So if we translate this to business, right, and to business environment, if you talk about traditional organizations, traditional employment, if business leaders, if those organization leaders want to try out or to check or test if they're flexible enough, they can just pick their top and high performers and tell them to work remotely.
Yes.
Okay, so if they feel uncomfortable, that means that they have to work on their flexibility in order to become ready to work with virtual teams. And that's a good test. So they don't even have to reach out to freelancers in order to have this terrible experience they expect, right? But they can just stay within their organizations and pick their best employees, so not the ones that they want to let go, and they don't know how, because they already costed them so much, and they will ask them to pay overtime or whatever. But the thing is, if they pick their best, so top and high performers, and just say, okay, from today and for the next month, you will work remotely, and whenever you want, just bring me the outcome. And you know what outcome is, because you're already giving it, right? You're a top performer, high performer. And if they feel uncomfortable, if that doesn't work, then they're not ready. So they still stay within their playgrounds, and that's a good test.
That is really great. I'm very excited about this. I mean, that's so easy to start with. It does not require any change, and it puts the leader of a team or an organization in a most likely uncomfortable situation where they understand, if they want to understand, okay, this is what we need to change first to work based on results, become more flexible, and leverage the power of virtual teams.
Yeah, it's an exercise within the same organization with the same people you already work with, and more specifically with those that you really appreciate a lot, right? The top ones, high performers. So yeah, it might be a good test. And if that brings uncomfort and bad feeling, or it doesn't work, then it means that, and it starts on the top, right? So it goes from leadership. So that means that leadership has to exercise their minds and make it more agile, so that they can actually transform their organizations.
Perfect. Yeah. I think that's a good conclusion at the end. It was very valuable even for me. I mean, I work with you since more than a year, even 1.5 years, but it always brings me new understandings and opens my mind to different things. Thanks for being on the show. It was very great talking to you. Thank you, Natalia.
Thanks, Manuel. Bye.
I'd like to thank our guest, Natalija Banic, for joining us today. You can find out more about Natalia, FlashHub, and Virtual Teams as a Service at flashhub.io. For those of you in Germany, you're not going to want to miss the Virtual Teams Live experience from FlashHub on December 12th, 2019. There's going to be keynote speakers talking about different aspects of new work as well as food and drinks. It's going to be an awesome night. There are only 50 spots available, so register now using the link in the show notes. You can subscribe to the Virtual Frontier or leave us a review at Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, or anywhere else podcasts are found. On behalf of the team here at FlashHub, I'd like to thank you for listening. So until next episode, keep exploring new frontiers.